is an age-old fraudulent activity. Over the centuries, scammers have gotten smarter and more cunning as education has put people on the lookout for possible scams, and law enforcement agencies have tightened up their efforts and techniques in their fight against these fraudsters. Some scammers, however, have exhibited high levels of mental sharpness and intelligence that has left many wondering how profitable and wealthy they would have been if they were involved in more legal lines of business. Scammers like Hush Puppy have recently gained notoriety for their international scams and lavish lifestyle on social media, but they are far from the most successful people to engage in the craft. That brings us to the subject of today's video. A man considered to be one of the greatest Nigerian scammers of all time, Emmanuel Nwude. This man's scam was so bold and daring that when it finally came to light, it made international news and instantly made Emmanuel Nwude a household name in Nigeria, a country that is often criticized as a hub of internet fraudsters and scammers. In the 1990s, Emmanuel contacted Nelson Sakaguchi, who was the director of one of the largest banks in Brazil, and was able to convince him to invest in a new airport soon to be opened in Nigeria. To make his scam believable, Emmanuel impersonated Paul Oguma, the then governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. According to the agreement, Emmanuel also received a $10 million commission for facilitating the deal. The bank director then proceeded to transfer $242 million to Emmanuel as investment money for the airport. The only problem is that there wasn't any airport set to be built. Emmanuel pocketed the $242 million and his $10 million commission. The most surprising part of the scam is that Emmanuel was able to achieve all this via phone call without ever meeting the Brazilian bank director. How do you convince someone you have never met before to send you over $250 million? When the scam was finally uncovered, the Brazilian bank collapsed and the bank director was arrested on fraudulent charges. Back home in Nigeria, Emmanuel and 4 of his accomplices were also arrested and charged in Abuja High Court with 86 counts of fraudulently seeking advance fees and 15 counts of bribery related to the case. They pleaded not guilty. The scam was so brazen and shocking that the government formed a whole new agency to deal with such scams. At the request of the former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission was created by the Nigerian Parliament in 2002. In their effort to avoid jail, Emmanuel and his accomplices attempted to bribe the judge and others who they believed could affect the judgment. In 2004, the presiding judge of the case, in frustration, threw out the case, claiming that since the crime did not take place in the city of Abuja, he had no jurisdiction, and said that the proper place for the case would be the Lagos High Court. The scammers were released and then immediately re-arrested after stepping outside the courthouse, after which the case was moved to Lagos. The scammers then proceeded to bribe members of the commission and kidnap key witnesses in order to destroy the prosecutor's case. In one instance, there was a bomb scare that caused the courthouse to be evacuated. However, Emmanuel later pleaded guilty in hopes of a more lenient sentence. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison. All of his assets were confiscated to be returned to the victim, and a $10 million fine was imposed to be paid to the Nigerian federal government. However, most of the money was never recovered, as it is alleged that Emmanuel had invested them in other ventures and hidden them in accounts not bearing his name. After he was released from prison in 2006, Emmanuel filed a lawsuit to recover his seized assets on the grounds that some of the assets were acquired before the offense was committed. He has already reclaimed at least $52 million, and as of 2015, the matter is being heard by the Lagos Division of the Court of Appeal. Now that you have heard the full story, do you agree that Emmanuel Nwude is the greatest Nigerian scammer of all time? Let us know in the comments section.